Now, I want you to take a deep breath and start this beginning again. Would you? Pick up your horn. Now, why do you have to take a breath after the first note? But you do habitually, don't you? That's what else I'm going to. You need to plan your breathing. You breathe, or taking breaths many times right in the middle of phrases. You want to try to avoid that unless absolutely necessary, and if you have to do it, you disguise it so no one knows that you're taking a breath. Dum, ba, ba, be, da, 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 dum. That's your first statement. Think of it that way. Think of Luciano Pavarotti, the tenor, singing that thing. Okay, try it again. Okay, now, the next thing is, in any cadenza, you want to know where you're going. Your first note died. Dum, I'm done now. It didn't lead us anywhere. It's dum, bam, bam, da, 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 dum. You're going to that E. So that's your crescendo to the E, if anything else. And don't let fermatas fool you. Fermatas are not squatting rights. You know, you don't want to squat on that. Da, 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 dee, da, 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 da. They're all part of one phrase. So, da, 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 dee, da, 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 da. They're just sort of, they're notes that you're hanging on to. Remember what we talked about flow, airflow? Your air was squatting right out in front of your horn. It wasn't going anywhere. You think of that air going, da, 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 dee, da, 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 going to that E. Try it. Big breath. And now you can get a breath because you're going. How's that feel? See the difference? Now you're playing something that says something a little bit more. Okay? Now, let's go ahead. Play a little bit of the theme. Would you start the theme again? Okay, what's your dynamic here? Okay, yet you know, you don't want to think of that. You want to think of that as being mighty pretty. But not da da. I'm so sorry I have to play this little tune. That's what it's sounding like. Don't apologize. Da da dee. This is a song. Play the first note and hold it. Now, can you make that more lovely? Think of a magician's scarf pulled out of his sleeve that never ends. Play that note again. That's better. Feel a difference in that? Now, you don't want to play it with what I call throat air. The air is coming from your throat. You go right from the bottom of your lungs. The bottom of your lungs. Not your stomach, but your lungs. Okay? Try it again. Okay, don't let it decay. Dong, and don't bite it so that you start letting it decay. Dong, dong. Try it again. Okay. See how it wants to diminuendo as you hold it? Think of pulling that string, that scarf, so it never stops. Dong. Do it again. No, don't let us hear it decay. All of a sudden, the qualities smashed together. Okay, play both of them. Da, da, dee. Slur them. Now, have you ever played this first section slurred? Play it slurred once. Okay, you didn't take a good breath at the beginning, did you? You took what we call the conversational breath. Well, all we're going to do, we're just going to talk. When you start to, in other words, your sound's not going to get beyond the footlights in the old school. You know, they used to have footlights to the edge of the stage. Your sound has to project beyond the footlights. And it's not going to project beyond the footlights if you just take a conversational breath so we can talk here together, but no one's going to hear us in the back, you know. Da, 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 da. You have to project by getting a better breath. Do it one more time, all slurred. Okay, you know you're not going to quite make it, so where can you take a breath? There. Yes, do it again. Take a breath there. Quick one. Slurred. Blow, keep blowing. Okay, now, you know, have you ever played this loudly? Ever played this forte? Yes, sir. Play it forte. As big as you can, with as beautiful a sound as possible. Try it once. Okay, we've gotten to mezzo forte. Come on, forte. Blow. Okay, the reason for doing this is that if you're going to run a 100-meter race, you don't practice 70 meters. Okay? You practice 150 meters, which makes 100 meters sound simple. If you're going to play mezzo forte, you practice it forte, because then mezzo forte is easy. And you've never done that, and it never helped you have a good air support. And so your air support in this melody has never been good. And your notes have a tendency not to be good. Now, try tonguing it now with the same air you were using when you were slurring at the beginning. Mezzo forte. Okay, now, two things you can do that'll help you with this. First of all, when you tongue, you don't stop the tone. You just enunciate the tone. You're going da, 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 da. Just play on the A. Da, da, da. 3 of those. Tongue them. Da, da, da. A little harder. Da, da, da. Now play the first 3 notes that way. Da, da, da. There you go. See, that's the articulation style you need in this piece, because this is a song. All you're doing is what we call enunciating the consonants. Consonation is the word I made up for it. And what you're doing is separating each note rather than consonation in this. You're going da, 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 instead of da, da. It's believe me if all those endearing young charms. You know, that's the tune. Yet you weren't singing the words. You were playing notes. I am an instrumentalist. I am not a musician. That's what that says to the listener, okay? And you want to not be a euphonium player. You want to be a musician who is communicating thoughts, ideas, emotions, feelings, etc., right? Da, 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 dee, dee, da, da, dee, da, 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 da. Try it once again and think of that. Think of the way you just played those A's in that last bit, okay? And take a nice deep breath and make it all the way to the F. Keep going. That's a little bit better. Now, expanding your capacity. Have you ever had the experience of drowning? No. Anyone here ever have the experience of drowning? I did once. I was in a little lake down in Mexico, and I was about 5 years old. And I was out, my father was out a little further, and so I thought, I'll go out there. And I was bouncing out there, you know, and I hit a hole. And down I went. And he got me in time. But when you get that experience, what happens? You want air pretty badly. So we're all going to experience, we're going to expand your capacity. This is a capacity expansion exercise. You want to take a deep breath, sitting up straight with good posture, because the most important element of helping your breathing is good posture, getting the weight off the waist, allowing the lungs to have room to expand. So let's pretend we're all in the drowning circumstances. So we'll take as big a breath as possible, then as many short breaths as possible, like you're coming up for the third time like this. As many more short breaths as you can to fill your lungs up completely till your eyes bug out a little bit, okay? Let's take a deep breath. Remember the expansion all the way around the rib cage, and then as many short breaths as possible. Here we go. Ready? Are you ready? Here we go. How'd that feel? A little different, didn't it? Like you're really filling up your lungs. Let's do it again. Ready? Big breath. 1, 2, breathe. Ah, yes. And one of your problems is you have a tendency to play just the amount of air that you have, and you've never expanded your capacity. Have you ever timed yourself to see how long you can hold a note?
No, sir.
That would be a good test. We should time it and see how many seconds you could hold it. Okay. There was a band in Joliet, Illinois in the last century that was a grade school band. It was a national championship winner. Forrest McAllister conducted it. To be in that 7th and 8th grade band, you had to be able to sustain a tone for 1 minute on one breath. Have you ever timed yourself? Maybe you can make 30 seconds or 25 seconds. Time yourselves when you go home. Find how long you can hold a note. See if you can really expand what you've done. You've never pushed yourself to go further. And so, when, like in this first range, if you go to here, you have to practice doing that. And practice it at a louder dynamic than you're going to perform it. So once again, you're practicing for the 100-meter race by overextending yourself. And so that would really be helpful. Now in your articulation, we have only a couple minutes, so we have to get someone else in here. What are you doing when you tongue?
What am I doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? Can you feel what is, you learned how to tongue, what did they tell you to do?
2.
2, and what does that do?
Not much. I like da.
Okay, da, da, and did you have something at the end of that? Oh, so if you use, what is the function of the tongue?
Start the next one, to lead.
Okay, think of articulation as a delivery of the sound, not an attack of the sound. We don't attack notes. Gardell Simons, the famous trombone player with the Philadelphia Orchestra and with Sousa's band, called it the delivery. We deliver the note. We don't attack the note. And so you think of the articulation as a release of the sound, a release of the air that allows the lips to vibrate. And so you want to make it as unnoticeable as possible. You don't want to have any tongue noise. And you want the sound, the minute you release, you want your embouchure to be in position so you get immediately sound. You notice the first time, too, there were a lot of fuzz balls, a lot of air balls where it didn't respond. That's because your lips weren't in position when you released the air with the tongue. So the tongue and the lips were not in coordination. You have to get the tongue so it really works well. Think of your teeth right here, and the tongue is someplace behind the top teeth. And as you blow, and you have the tongue there, you can't make any sound because it's blocking. Try it. Pick up your horn here. And put it up to your mouth. And just put your tongue in front of it and just play like a B flat. But no, you can't make any sound because the tongue's in the way. Try it. No, behind your teeth. It's hard to get in front. No, no tongue. No sound. Blow against it with your tongue blocking the air. You can't get any air out, hopefully. Your tongue should completely block the air. Tongue should completely block the air so you can blow all day and no sound will come. Tongue's in the way. But when you release the tongue, drop it downward, not backward. So the tongue is a release of the air. But your tongue may be doing any number of things that's creating that problem. First of all, the air may not be behind the tongue before you release it. So you're releasing it and then blowing instead of simultaneously have it happen. There are three major problems with articulation. Okay? First of all, the tongue has a tendency to move with the rest of our jaw. Remember, you were taught to say tu. When you say to, ta, 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 or ta, ta, tu, 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 what happens? The chin moves, right? And so you get a lot of what are called chin motion when you articulate. Da, da, da. And what does that do to the sound? Well, it causes it not to be as accurate, or it causes it to change. Da, da, da. So you get this kind of sound when you articulate. I'm exaggerating, but you can hear how it changes pitch and quality. The second problem is the embouchure is not firm. And so you end up kissing every note. I know you're in love with your horn, but you don't need to kiss it that much. You want it to, when you keep your corners firm. So you have, if your corners move, you can hear how that affects the sound under great exaggeration. And the third thing that happens is that the tongue has been out in West Texas too long, has become a snake tongue. And so instead of dropping down all the way, it comes back and forth like this. Dai, dai, dai. It raises in the back when you release it. So you get that kind of feeling. And you add all three of those together, you have a real articulation problem, you know. And so the tongue doesn't work. So what we do over at North Texas is that every individual has marked on their calendar their Tongue Independence Day. Okay, Tongue Independence Day, right? So your tongue moves independently of your embouchure, your jaw, and is independent. So the tongue is out of the way, so you get this kind of sound. You can notice my jaw isn't moving, my embouchure isn't moving, the tongue just drops out of the way, and the sound then is even and clear. So it seems a little cleaner and clearer. So you might consider that. The best way to work on that is get a mirror and work on that, especially in this second variation. Could you start the first variation, I mean? Could you start that again? I know you're a little cold here. Okay, just the first two notes. Bum, 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 first three notes. Yeah. Bum, bum, bum. Can you make those clearer? That's better, isn't it? But you're still getting a little bit of embouchure motion. It's not bad. Better than most. Bum, bum, bum. Play it on the same A. Bum, bum, bum. You hear that? Bum, bum, bum. You hear a little of that in the sound? Just a small bit. Do it again. Longer. Bum, bum, bum. Now, if you watch the mirror, you can see died, died, died. A little bit of that. And so you have to get the feeling of getting that same. I exaggerated a little bit. So that all the articulations are even. And that comes from getting that feeling of having the corners really firm. Okay? So you can work on that, get a mirror, but mostly listen and try to play exercises. Do you have an Arbon's book? You could just take the very beginning of the Arbon's book, exercise number 11, and just play that, watching in the mirror to make sure that every note sounds the same and everybody has the same feel. So every note has the same delivery, same articulation. And then work for a little more speed, like this first letter C here, this first variation. What other exercises could you do to help you play that better? Scale exercises, number 4 in the scales of the Arbons. And work on it, and try and have a little more air. But generally, I would say for you to help you at the beginning is play everything twice as loudly as you think you need to play it. and learn to control it. Then back away from it so you get used to using more air. Practice and see how long you can hold the tone, and also, remember where you're going and try and make it a little more melodic and other things. But very good. I wish we had more time. We don't this time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any questions about anything we've talked about here so far?